We are talking about money, how to earn it, how to manage it, how to spend it. But most importantly, of course, we are talking about your money energy and how to fix that so that you can have a better financial future. So, believe it or not, I find the money stuff and prosperity stuff to be one of the most powerful topics there is when it comes to creating a relationship as well as a life that you love. Because the truth is, whether a lot of people want to talk about it or not, many women feel stuck in their relationship because of finances. And I've worked with hundreds of women over the past few years. And I've seen every single version of this story. So I've had women who are making literally millions of dollars. And they tell me that they're stuck in their relationship because if they leave, they're going to owe their husband, half of their millions of dollars. And that feels like a real problem or a sticking point to them. And then I have other women who have maybe never worked outside the home or never really had much of a career, but they have a husband who's making a lot of money and they feel they can't leave because even just taking half of what they have created with their husband, and they have created it with their husband, no matter what their husband tells them, that feels like a huge loss to them, or they're worried that only half of it, or child support, spousal support, won't be enough to maintain the lifestyle that they've become accustomed to, and so that feels like a real problem. And of course, I've had lots of women who are feeling like if they leave, they're going to end up sleeping on a friend's couch because they don't have any money or credit of their own to access. So that's why they feel like they can't leave. So women think that if they could remove the money issue, they would have an easier time making the decision. But as you can see from these few examples, what one woman considers to be a problem, another person actually would see as a solution, or at the very least, they see it as not much of a problem at all. Because the truth is that when we think it's a money issue, it's never really a money issue. There's always something else underlying that, and it's easy to blame feeling stuck on money. So in all cases, the real problem comes down to kind of two things. So one of them being that these people, you are likely in this boat, do not understand your money energy. And I would apply that to pretty much everybody, because myself included, because it's the same as your relationship energy. You can fix one thing, or you become aware of one thing and are able to start shifting that. And as you elevate one area, then you reach another block. And it's the same thing when it comes to money. So somebody, who's a billionaire, when you look at Oprah or Kim Kardashian or big celebrities, even they are still, they have their own goals and their own dreams that they're trying to reach. And so, but they've just, elevated themselves from a financial standpoint way beyond what most people and most women will ever do in a lifetime. But anyways, the big thing is that most people do not understand their money energy. And it's a continual process of building awareness and then making shifts throughout our life. And hopefully those shifts lead us to better and better places. And then the second thing is most women don't understand that they have the power to change that. They have the power to change the current situation they're in, and the power to change their energy around money, because a lot of people don't ever think about this. So I'm glad you're here. So almost all of the women who I work with end up making more money. And I started to see this and notice this really early on when I first started my Relationships Redone program. And of course, it was fascinating and I absolutely loved it. And, mostly attributed it to, as you raise your energy or raise your vibe, you start attracting to you more of what you want. And of course, within the program, we do talk about money because it's a huge part of relationships. And of course, it's a huge part of divorce decisions, as well as being a huge part of a decision to stay. So I don't want anybody to walk away from this relationship clinic thinking that this is me, trying to provide all the information for women so everybody can run off and leave their husbands. I mean, if that's what you want to do, all power to you. But but that's certainly not the message here, because often when women can take ownership and responsibility of their financial future, they actually become happier and actually decide they'd actually like to stay in their marriage. So it's not always about, I need to make money so I can leave. For many women, they discover, no, once I've discovered my sense of purpose or removed some of my limitations around myself, I'm actually a much happier person, and it makes it much easier to stay and keep working on this relationship because I'd really actually rather be here. So it can go either way. And within the program over the years, I really started paying attention to the women who were the most successful in the program from a relationship standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint. And what I really noticed about these women is that the ones who are most receptive to take responsibility for where they're at were definitely going to be the ones who finished the program in the best place, where they were already making way more money, or they had already got a promotion at work, or they were talking about starting a business. Those women really from the get-go were ready and willing to take responsibility for where they're at. And the other thing is that the ones who are and this is such an interesting point, but the ones who are the most receptive to forgiveness, in other words, women who are willing to let go of a lot of the resentment that they're feeling around their past, maybe some contempt that they're feeling towards their partner for the way things seem to be turning out for them. That ability to let go of that, to really forgive, seems to open up a space within our hearts for better things to flow in. So believe it or not, as I started to research this, I discovered that this is actually a known phenomenon, that forgiveness has a direct impact on your bank account. So as we're moving through the relationship stuff, it then became much clearer to me that, yeah, this is a real thing. When you can forgive, when you can let go of the past stuff, then the future looks brighter. And in order for you to move towards that future and want to move towards that future, you need to be able to envision it in a much different way. So what I want to talk about today are these 4 key areas of financial prosperity that many women carry a negative energy around. And now you might not carry a negative energy around all 4 of the areas. Each area is different, each person is different, but I wanted to talk about all 4 of them so that it just gives you the information you need to start asking yourself some questions so that you can start to build your own awareness around the situation that you're in, no matter what that is, and how you might remove some of those energetic blocks to make things better. Because as I've often said, people make these, 2024 New Year's resolutions around money, or these goals around money, but they neglect to do the energy work that's actually going to make a difference in helping them to achieve those goals. So the main 4 areas that I'm going to talk about are your ability to earn money and some of the energetic blocks around that, your ability to manage money, keep money, as well as let money go. So let's start with your beliefs around earning money and some of the energy blocks that I often see. So first and foremost, remember this: you are going to earn to the level you believe that you can. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that. You're going to earn to the level You believe that you can. And the key element there is believe. So what you think is, that you need to earn more money. And then if you're like many women, you jump to, okay, so I need to earn more money, but then immediately you go to, but I don't know how to do that. And as soon as you go to, I don't know how to do that, that blocks any and all ideas that the universe might be sending towards you. So basically, it's like you're just defeating yourself before you even put your shoes on, sort of thing. So if you're starting to look at ideas that, around earning money, I want you to keep in mind that another energetic block is that most women, or if this is your issue, you're going to, even if you're willing to look at ideas, you're going to look at ideas that are basically on the exact level of where you're currently at, or maybe just slightly above. And I mean, if it's slightly above, hey, that's better than nothing. But I would encourage you to really consider going far beyond that, because most women remain stuck because they're not thinking big enough, because they've never been given the idea or been taught that they're really unlimited in their ability to earn. So I'm going to say something, and I don't want anyone coming after me for this statement. I'm going to say it anyways. But the truth is that this very limited thinking that many, many women carry around their ability to earn is exactly why network marketing is targeted towards women. So, and this is not me hating on network marketing. I actually really love network marketing. I think it's a wonderful thing. It's helped many, many women make money for their families, and and a few women who are in network marketing even get very, very rich. So this is not me against network marketing. But I do believe that it's targeted towards women because women are far more likely to be okay with making, a few $100s extra per month. Whereas men, in other words, if a man said, oh, I want to make more money, he's naturally going to think much bigger, because in our society, men are just naturally conditioned to be breadwinners. And women are more conditioned to believe that they're very limited in their ability to make a significant amount of money. And I was certainly no exception to that. And again, this is not against network marketing. I sold Silpata jewelry, 20 some years ago as network marketing when I was on maternity leave. And it was great. I think I've made about $1,000 a month. It was awesome. Paid for my groceries and whatnot. But at that time, I wasn't even open to anything bigger than that. And I often think about when I first got married. At that point, I was making about double what my husband was making at the time. But when we started making decisions about where to live, how to set up our lives, what things were going to look like, all of those decisions were based on his career, even though I had significantly more education than him, and I was making literally double what he was making at the time. So, but because of the way I had been conditioned, and it's nobody's fault, it's just the way society was, I did not see the potential I had to earn, because that wasn't even a thought in my mind. So no matter how much money I made, when we were married, of course we ended up divorced, but no matter how much money I made, it was considered kind of extra, even though it wasn't extra at all. I mean, we were spending all of it. It wasn't like, my paychecks were just sitting, being added up somewhere. I mean, we were spending it, we were investing it, we were doing all sorts of things with it. But that not being able to envision a future that is full of way more money because of you, or that your earning potential is unlimited, that is one of the biggest money blocks I see for women when it comes to getting unstuck from where they're at. So, the thing is that limitation is definitely based in a lot of scarcity thinking. So it's kind of this idea for women that money just kind of trickles to you. So just enough to remain at the level that you're at. So maybe just enough to, keep pace with inflation if you're lucky, but not a penny more. So if you feel like this has been your struggle, or if you feel like when you're looking at your life and you wish things were different, and what pops into your mind is, I don't have a way to make way more money, just know that that is just a thought and it's not necessarily true. In fact, it's 100% not true, because in this day and age, there are, almost all women in our society have the ability to make way more money than they're making. So I have a business program actually where I teach women how to start their online businesses. And as part of that program, I always talk about the fact that when I started my business years ago, the idea of making $5,000 extra per month, that seemed to me at the time like just awesome. Like I just remember thinking, if I can just make $5,000 extra, then that's really going to change everything for me. And that's true. $5,000 extra is great. But then when I started to, join other business masterminds and started to work with women who were making $100,000 per month, then all of a sudden, I would get to know these women and they would talk about it, and you'd realize, oh, like that's doable. You can do that. And now I know a lot of women who are earning $1 million a month, right? Now, what do these women have that you don't have? I'm telling you nothing. The only difference between somebody who's making $1 million per month in her online business versus somebody who's, stuck feeling like, well, I don't have any ideas, I don't know what to do. The only difference is vision. The only difference is their belief in themselves, or the willingness to put themselves out there and to get started. So it's huge. And when you start to get to know women who are talking about business and wanting to encourage you and all of that stuff, which, as I said, that my business group, that's what we do every week. We meet and people ask questions and we're able to encourage one another, and certainly, help women go from literally making $0 to making, say, $10,000 a month easily. I mean, it takes some work, but it's all figure outable. You start to see these women are not smarter than you. They just have a different vision. They have a different idea about their own potential. And as soon as you figure that out, your own earning can soar as well. So with that said, as a side note, we are getting ready to accept a few new women into our business program. So if you're actually inspired by this, or you've been thinking that you'd love to start an online business that kind of removes some of those limits on your own earning potential, just send me a message. We'll get you the details and answer any questions that you might have about that program. Excuse me. The women that we put through that program have done amazingly well, and it's just a lot of fun to be a part of. So with that said, anything you create starts with your willingness to want to create it. So if you only want to earn a few $100s extra, that's the upper limit on what you're going to earn. But if you're willing to want to earn, say, $10,000 per month extra or $100,000 per month, then that's what you have the ability to figure out. So the question that you have to ask yourself here is, what do I believe is my ability, or what do I believe is the block? What's blocking me in terms of my ability to earn money? Because if you have no ideas and you think I just can't, it's just an energetic block. And that's really where the work needs to be, is working on where did this idea come from and how can I shift it, even if just a little bit, because you don't go from here to here. Even in the business program, we don't go from $0 to $100,000 immediately. I mean, some people maybe do. I've never seen it, but I'm sure a lot of people do that. But what you can do is you can go from $0 to, $5,000 a month, which then opens you up to the possibility of maybe $7,000 a month. And so it's these small shifts in your thinking that you figure out as you go, and then until you're reaching these much larger goals. Okay. Next one is around managing money. So this is another big block to prosperity because I see a quote floating around, and I'm sorry, I don't know who to attribute this to, or I would give credit where credit is due. But the quote is, if you can't manage $1,000, you can't manage $1,000,000. Or maybe it says, if you can't manage 1,000, you can't manage 100,000. So if you feel like this has been your area of struggle, the question that you want to ask yourself is, what are my beliefs around money management, right? Because many women will get to the place of, and whether it's them or their husband or whatever, they come into a large amount of money. They get to a place where they feel like it doesn't matter, it doesn't seem to matter how much money I make. I'm always in the same boat. And you hear the story often around people who win the lottery, for example. So they win $100,000 or they win, $3 million or something. And 10 years later, or even 5 years later, they find themselves back in the exact same position that they're in. And there was a huge research study done around that. And the reason for that, of course, is that they haven't changed their money energy. So if you feel like this is you, if you feel like, when I look at what we bring into this household as a family, it's quite a bit. We're doing pretty well. But where is all of it? You have to then start to ask yourself some questions around your beliefs and your energy around money management. So questions such as, do I believe that it isn't my job to manage the money? And this is a common one for women, where they'll feel almost resentful if they have to take complete responsibility for the money, or they don't want to deal with their husband's questions around it. So it's kind of like, well, you just do it then. Let me know, I'm going to rack up my credit card and buy whatever I want. And I hope you're taking care of that and paying things off. And sometimes if that's the energy you're bringing, oftentimes then your husband or your wife might be bringing a similar energy that matches that, which says, I'm going to take responsibility for this. You don't need to worry about it. But as they're doing that, they develop more and more shame when the financial situation isn't good. And sometimes they're not honest with you about that. And I hear this all the time, when then women will say, all of a sudden we started talking about getting a divorce, and I realized we had $40,000 in credit card debt that I didn't even know about. And there can be a lot of resentment and whatnot about that. So what do you believe around money management? Another one that I've run into is people almost feel shame around money management. Like they feel like it's going to make them really boring. And actually, this is one that I realized that I was running into around money management, because there had been a few times in my life where I had been unintentionally, maybe, or intentionally, kind of shamed around my finances. So where, because I had my spreadsheets and my budgets and, my investment stuff and whatever, and I really paid close attention to all of that. And then people would make fun of me about it. And I remember one time someone making a comment about, oh yeah, don't worry about that, Shari will have it all figured out. And it was definitely a derogatory thing towards me, almost like it made me cheap or greedy or like a stick in the mud, because I, was paying too much attention to my finances. And so I realized, years later, when I started studying all of this stuff, that had actually made me let go of money management, because I felt embarrassed about it. And then things weren't going as well because I wasn't paying enough attention, because I almost felt like, well, it's fine, but it wasn't fine. It's not fine to do that. What is fine is being prudent and being very respectful of the money you get, being respectful of the money you spend, having gratitude for it. So it's not scarcity to pay attention. It doesn't make you boring. It doesn't make you greedy. It means you've got a healthy respect for the money that you earn and the money that the universe flows to you. Another one that I run into is women believe that they can't manage money, or they'll feel like I don't want to manage the money because I feel like it's really stressful. And one of the questions I often ask people is, if I were to say, because I think a really good practice, especially if you're struggling with your finances, is to start checking your bank accounts every day. And of course, now with everything right being on our phone, it's very easy to do that. And if me saying that to you kind of makes you feel like, ugh, I don't want to look at my bank account every day because it's stressful, that's even more reason to look at your bank account every day. Not to stress yourself out, but to stop shaming yourself for where you're at. So if you find money stressful, pay attention to some of the shame that you have associated with money. And maybe you feel shame because you don't have enough, you feel shame because you have too much debt, you feel shame because all of your bills aren't being paid in an organized fashion. Whatever it is, understand that and become aware of that and start to do work to remove that and shift that energy. Shame is never going to take you to where you want to be. And in fact, in the case of money and money management, what shame does is it makes people put their heads in the sand and hide from it. And negative energy always produces negative results. And in that case, putting your head in the sand and hiding from your current financial situation is definitely going to produce a negative result. Okay, the next one is to take a look at your energy around keeping money. So this is a really interesting one because people will often say, oh no, I would love to keep more money. But if you are making decent money, or actually no matter what level you're earning at, but you don't have as much money in the bank as you would like to have, I do invite you to take a look at the idea of what it would feel like or what it would mean to you if money were adding up in your bank account. So there's scarcity issues around your money can go two ways. So years ago, like 20 years ago, my sister and I were actually having a discussion because we were both very different around money when we were, in our 20s, going to university and that kind of thing. And I remember us having this discussion about it and saying, that's so weird that we're so different when it comes to this, and I wonder what that's about. And what we determined was, she said she would spend her money really quickly because she was always worried that it might not be there later. Okay, so that's a scarcity issue. On the flip side of that, I also had the same scarcity issue she had. But instead of spending all my money because I thought it wouldn't be there later, I saved all my money because I thought it wouldn't be there later, right? And so that's just as toxic and unhealthy because, and I'm going to talk about this in the next one around letting money go, if you're not willing to let money flow out, it makes it really hard for more money to flow in. So one of the things in the new prosperity program that we're going to be rolling out is around that law of reciprocity. It's the idea that you make, when you let money flow in, there needs to be a space for it. And your energy is actually what makes the space bigger so that more can flow in and more can sit there. But whatever level you're at, if you're not allowing money to flow in or out because of scarcity issues, you're blocking it. So saving money, and one of the things that I teach in the program is around when keeping money, we have these bank accounts we call savings accounts. But the problem with a savings account, which is what I'm talking about with my scarcity issues, in university, is that it was designed to keep saving me. So it's like manifesting this need for these, surprises to come up, and then all my money would be gone anyways, because, whatever, I would get a big dent in the side of my car door, or something would happen and I would need to use all my savings. So my sister and I always ended up in the same boat. Neither one of us ever had any money. She just had nicer clothes because of it. And she didn't save money, but yet she seemed to always be fine in terms of if something happened to her car or whatever, it was still always taken care of, right? So in that way, some of that, you have to really take a look at some of those things you've been taught about saving and kind of hoarding money to put away. Because I always ask people, well, how's that working for you? Because for most people who have a lot of scarcity issues and save because of scarcity, often they end up with very little in their savings anyways, because it always ends up being taken up. The dishwasher breaks, you need new tires, whatever the case may be. And then the fourth one around money energy is, as I said, that ability to let money go. Letting money fly out the window with intention is perhaps one of the greatest skills that you can develop in terms of shifting your money energy. So in the email that was sent out yesterday, I told the story about when when I was grocery shopping and realized that after I, finished paying for my groceries and walking across the parking lot years ago, and I had this feeling of sort of guilt or worry about it, that I just spent this, it was $300 or something on groceries. And I thought, what is that? Why, and then I realized that I always was feeling that way about whether it's groceries or clothes or anything that I was buying. And I started to really do some work around that and dive into what it was that I was feeling. And I realized that I was feeling bad about any money that I spent, which is terrible, and a terrible money energy, because if you feel bad about spending money, you cannot allow more into your life. It has to go both ways. It has to flow in, and there's to be gratitude when you receive it, and you spend it and give gratitude for the fact that you're able to spend it. So that ability to let money go with love is huge for your ability to let money flow in with love and gratitude. And you'll really, really find that if you spend money with intention and gratitude, your financial situation changes really, really quickly. And some of the ways, little tricks for doing that. One of the things I started doing after I realized that, even around the groceries, was I would, at the grocery store, when I would pay, I would say a silent prayer of gratitude, like just a thankfulness that I have this money to spend. I'm feeding my kids. I'm, supporting this local grocery store. I'm supporting the people that work there. I'm supporting the economy and all the, and gratitude for all the people who bring all this food to the grocery stores. And same thing with clothes or anything that I purchase now. There's a gratitude for that. It's one of the things that I have learned about was around tithing. And what tithing is, and I used to think that tithing was, give 10% of your money to the church, so to pay the minister or the priest or whatever. I've since, of course, realized that is not what tithing is. The real purpose around tithing is giving back 10%, just back out into the universe. So you give that 10% of whatever you make to anyone or any organization that has fed you spiritually. So I will tithe to friends. I will tithe to, great authors who I really love. Anything that helps me grow spiritually, I give money back to that. And when you tithe, when I first started tithing, it was kind of like it made me really nervous, because I thought, well, what if I then end up with no money? And because I'm giving this money away, and now what if business stops or something happens and I wish, oh my gosh, I wish I would have saved that. And that's the exact reason that I needed to start tithing, because when you tithe, when you give out like that, it's a statement, it's a courageous statement of confidence in the universe or confidence in God. It's Catherine Ponder's book, or no, it was Edwene Gaines' book, where she says, you can't outgive God, or in my case, I would say you can't outgive the universe. So when you start to let money flow out with full knowledge and trust and belief that money is going to flow in multiplied, things change, because you've just released that block, right? So if you can imagine these blocks around you, and as you start to slowly break them down, your financial situation and your prosperity, because money is just energy. Money, the problem is never money. The problem is always all of this other stuff that's either serving you or not serving you. And sometimes it served you at one point, protecting you. But if you're wanting things to change, you have to understand this stuff about yourself so that the future can look much different. So your energy, when you change your energy, you change the way the future looks. There we go. Any questions for anyone who's on here live? Susan, I'm glad you're loving the program. Oh, Lisa says, any tips for when you catch yourself worrying about money? That's a great question. Tips for when you catch yourself worrying about money. And Lisa probably knows exactly what I'm going to say, but she's asking it anyways. So what I would say is if and when, and everybody worries about money at some point until they get really good at this work, it's really about trust. So it's, that's the same answer for if somebody says, what if I'm worried about my relationship? Or what if I'm worried about my kids? Or, anything that you're worried about always comes down to you thinking that you have a plan, that you're in control, and that worrying is somehow going to serve you. And it's not. Worrying never serves anybody. What does serve you is surrendering to where you're at, honoring where you're at, and trying to take the most you can from it, and knowing that even when it feels like things aren't working out, they're always working out. And we've all seen this in our lives where something has gone wrong, and it feels like it was the worst thing ever, and then later you're able to see all the good that came of that for you, for maybe your family members or whatever. And the same thing goes for finances. Your ability to trust will and believe in yourself is going to have way more of a positive impact on your future financial situation than your ability to worry and stew over something that might happen, or even holding on to resentment over something that has happened. And again, I see this all the time in people who get divorced. Where it can be years later and men and women are still stuck on money stuff from years ago, not realizing that what they're feeling stuck about has been a way bigger hindrance to them moving forward than if they would have just let it go with love and gratitude and hope for the future and keep moving forward, knowing that it's all working out for everybody's highest good. Someone says, Lisette says, money's flowing well for me. However, my husband's business is always struggling. Any advice for me? That's a great question, Lisette. So this is really a question around somebody, your partner's money energy. So again, with the trust, only in the sense that trusting that when everybody's on their own journey. So his business struggles are related to his own situation, his own energy around that. So certainly as a partner, and it obviously depends on where he's at and where your relationship's at in terms of how easy it is for you to influence him or encourage him. But certainly if he's open to any sort of that influence and encouragement, number one, as his wife, I would express my appreciation for him, for the work that he's doing. I would express my belief in him. And also to talk to him about some of the stuff that we've talked about in terms of his own worries and how a lot of that worrying around business actually makes the struggle worse. It creates more problems. This is why you see businesses spiral down, is because one sort of negative thing happens, and then you start to worry, and so then your energy you start to feel this scarcity around money, scarcity around customers or clients or what have you. Whereas if you take more of an approach of, I'm figuring it out, things are in the process of working out, it starts to open up the doors and opportunities for new ideas to flow. So if he's open to hearing that sort of information, great. And if he's not, loving and encouraging him through it is great. And as I always say, pray about it. right? Like you can influence someone's life directly through prayer. So prayer for guidance for him to do the right thing, and prayer for guidance for yourself as well. Susan says, do I then trust and surrender to the belief that my husband's money management has improved? This is a tough one, and of course, without all of the context, it's a tough question to answer. I would say no. I am not telling you to surrender to the belief that his money management has improved. I would surrender to the belief that you will be okay no matter what. And I would take a look at where I was around, again, that idea around responsibility for your financial situation. So stepping into a different position in your finances where maybe you're not leaving all of it up to him. So sometimes people say, well, my husband doesn't want me to pay attention to the finances or doesn't want to involve me. And so that's a tough conversation to have. But especially if there's been a strong history of that, it's an important conversation to have. And really, it doesn't matter what age you're at or how long you've been married. Your finances, even if you don't have combined bank accounts, your finances are combined energetically because their finances are affecting you and your finances are affecting them. How you manage money, how you spend, it's affecting both of you. So if there needs to be a difficult conversation had around joint responsibility and awareness around the finances so that you can step into that, some of that, I think that that's an important piece as well. So this is surrendering, is about surrendering to the universe and trust. That doesn't always mean blindly trusting somebody else with all of your money. Okay, I think I will leave it there because we are over time. And I appreciate you all for being here, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other comments or questions, please put them below in the chat, and I will get to them as soon as I can. Thanks so much, you guys. Bye-bye. If you've been struggling in your relationship, if you feel like you've lost yourself and you'd like to figure things out and really step into the happiness and prosperity that the universe wants for you, click the link below, join our community over in the Facebook group, Relationship Answers for Women. There's also a link to download my best-selling book, When Marriage Needs a Miracle, absolutely free. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for being here.